I guess the order goes like introductions. Yeah. So hi, I'm Adam Meisner, and I'm joined by the Black Knight, author of the Star Shatter series, and hey, and we've got Matt Waterhouse. Is that right?
That is right.
Okay. I know you as like
Hello,
the
hello.
alchemy channel, Alchemy Lab.
Yep, the Alchemy Lab is our channel on YouTube. Um, Considering other platforms as well, but yeah, it's just YouTube at the moment.
All right. Yeah. And you guys are both DMs, right? Or GMs or whatever.
Yep.
M's, yes.
M's,
And
yeah.
yeah, and the alchemy system is like its own tabletop game
Yep.
system, right?
It is, yeah, it's its own little beast,
Just like Star Shatter.
which we're playing at the moment on. Well, we transitioned away from D&D, and we're playing it at the moment in our latest case in our campaign, which is a game of death. Recorded one yesterday. Don't know how long it's going to be before that comes out because there's also lots and lots of interviews coming.
I mean, a lot of people transitioned away from D&D,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, I can say that Star Shatter is like it probably has a lot of Pathfinder in it, and some of the oldest um, D&D stuff, like 3.2, 2.0, and 3.5. Like it's taken some inspiration, but everything is so um, modified and reworked that it's like you said, it's its own beast. I can speak this morning.
Yeah. That's an interesting topic. Books taking inspiration from role playing games because
Mm-hmm.
I know like anime and manga and like the new Korean stuff especially. They take a lot of criticism because they have a lot of video game influence. Like a lot, like isekai is like the
Oh yeah,
dominant fantasy genre, and even beyond that, when it's not an isekai, it still follows video game logic because I think that's like the predominant fantasy influence over there, and I can kind of relate to that because I played a lot of fantasy games, probably more than fantasy. Well, no, I guess not more, but I don't know, maybe more equal than like other like authors in the past. I guess I played a lot more fantasy games than I guess people that were fantasy games didn't exist. Um, but yeah, so you guys are both experienced DMs, and something I like to talk about quite a bit is like weird rulings and how to run D&D. I find it kind of just interesting, and when I come across like a weird ruling, I'm like limited in the number of people that I can discuss it with. So I thought you guys are both familiar with like fifth edition, and we could talk about that. But I was also thinking
mm,
just as like a warm up to introduce you guys to the wonderful world of Cyberpunk 2020, and it specifically it's full auto rules. So can you see my the screen share on Discord?
I can now.
All right,
yeah.
so
Let's clicked on it. Ah, yeah, I can see it.
uh, we'll do a little game as like an icebreaker. Under each of these four cards are four questions, and we'll see how, and then these are like sort of the answers, kind of. So we'll see. I guess I'll pose the questions to you two, experienced DMs, and you'll without really. I don't think either of you play Cyberpunk 2020. Is that right?
No,
Or
no, I
Nope.
okay.
haven't.
So with no experience with the system, make blind guesses as to the and obviously it's a trick question because why else would I be why else would I be so amused by it? So just how tabletop simulator works, you have to have an image for the back. So I was just grabbing random pictures on my computer. So here we've got Littlefoot, question one. Uh,
Yeah.
there it goes. So what does more damage? Full auto from a Arasaka WMA Minami 10 medium SMG, or getting hit by a car going 300 miles an hour?
The car.
Going for the car? All right, let's see.
Yep.
Um, objects.
Yeah, I know this one, so I won't. Because we talked
Do
about
you
it
know
before.
this one?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know this one because I
I'm just. It's just a guess. It's just a guess because
sorry.
I mean I'm going with the logic.
All right, we've
We'll
got a
see. We'll
knight
see.
or
We'll
the
see.
Black Knight. Put you over there. We got Matt Waterhouse. Who comes up for water? Oh, nothing.
I think like a potion bottle. 'Cause it's
Oh,
alchemy.
potion bottle. Let's see.
Something like that.
Tile set. How about a tree? They're water-ish. Oh wait, barrels have water in them. That
Barrels
makes more
have
sense.
water in them, and also
A
chemicals.
barrel of potions.
The
A
best
barrel
part
of potions.
the best part about tabletop simulator is you can just throw stuff. You don't have to clean it up.
Just eat them.
Oh, so which one are you going for? Are you going for full auto or car?
Full auto.
All right. Now,
There's more
second-
bullets.
All right, now
There's
second
only
question.
one car. There's loads of bullets.
Very true. All right, second question. What do we got? Full auto from the same kind of gun, or getting shot by a grenade launcher? What are we thinking, boys?
I'm thinking the full auto.
All right.
Yeah, judging by how like explosives and stuff seem to work in tabletop in general, I would imagine it's the full auto as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's probably a safe guess.
if and since I have just like super limited knowledge of this the rules of this game, I wouldn't go with looking at my own rules, so I'll just go with that guess. Yeah.
Oh, do you also have your own RPG system?
Yes, Star Shutter is basically, it's like I mentioned in the beginning, it's almost worked from scratch. I just took some basic stuff from the very old D&D systems, and that's it.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a book series, but you also made a.
Well, that the book series, like the story and the universe came first, and then I used tabletop to further flesh it out and play with some of my friends. So yeah,
That's cool. All right. Whoopsies. What do we got? Nerve gas. Full auto or nerve
Ooh.
gas?
I'm going for the nerve gas here.
All right.
I am also going to go for nerve gas. I think the nerve gas would be pretty punishing.
Yeah, like deadly punishing.
Yes.
Very. Okay.
All right. We're going double on nerve gas. And now, finally, for the best question, I think, hopscotch on a minefield. Now, for the
Hopscotch
purposes
on a
of this
minefield.
question, this is going to be our hopscotch board. So we're going to assume that there's a landmine on each one of these. So 10 landmines.
10 landmines against full auto.
Yep.
Oh, and there's a mine on each one of these squares.
Yeah.
So bang. So one leg off, one leg and the other leg and the stump off. I think by the end of it, it's probably just your eyeballs hitting the last mine. I would assume that the hopscotch minefield would be the more damaging there.
Ooh.
I'll go for the
Gotta think
full
about it,
auto
huh?
here.
You're gonna go
for
full
the
auto?
Yeah.
All right. Because generally in RPGs, you have to balance like AoE damage against single target. So oftentimes the explosives end up doing less damage. Also, I want to point out whoever made this map, they spelled orange Arnage.
Mm,
It would be Arnage if you were playing hopscotch through Minefield.
mm-hmm.
All right, so
Pure Arnage.
you guys are all DMs, so we can make these rulings together and figure out which whether full auto does more or less damage. We can figure it out together. Which one do we want to investigate first? Which one are you guys curious about? We got nerve gas.
The nerve gas. Let's say the nerve gas.
I'm curious
Nerve
about the
gas
nerve
is very simple. So, assuming you don't move out of it or the wind doesn't blow it away, you're in it for 3 turns. So that's going to be 8d10. So 24d10 is going to be the damage.
24D. Okay. Woof.
So then let's go grab a custom card. The face is going to be the full auto rules. Yeah, and then the back has to be something, so that'll be that. There we go. So here's the full auto rules. So the system in general is oh, you know, I don't have the image for it, but
It's different. It's different than what I had like years ago. I had created for the Star Shutter system.
yeah. So this system works off of hit numbers. So like rather than everyone having a defense score, it's just like the target is at X range, so it's point blank is 10. There's no penalty for shooting right next to someone. And then there's close, medium, long, extreme. So let's say close range, although there's no penalty for moving on your turn. It's just like D&D where you can move and then do something. So you could just go to point blank, assuming that it wasn't a bad idea. So let's say close. Mm-hmm. And then the system really lets you min-max. So you could go all the... And then the system is major attribute plus skill. So it could be 10 in each. So you could have a base of plus 20. And then you roll a d10. So we'll go grab a d10 and roll it and see if we hit. Components... What do we got? Oh, dice. Okay. Yeah, metal dice, of course. Don't have to worry about it scuffing your table. Why not? D10. Yeah. Okay. So you roll the D10. We got an 8. And then if it's like a min-maxing character, which I would assume the game is designed with that in mind, because so many of the NPCs are min-maxed. Like, so many of the NPCs have maxed out stats, and, like, you know, they're designed to be very good. I think the system is kind of designed in such a way to make it like a meat grinder. And a lot of the, like, excerpts in the sides of the book will say, like, yeah, they're going to kill you and stuff like that. So it's not much of, like, a power fantasy or whatever.
Obviously.
So I would assume that people would max out their stats because they give you plenty of points to do it. So so for this would be 28, and then if we're saying it's at close range, you would subtract 28 from 15, which would be 13. And then is this the right turn? Oh, that's for cars. I have to load in the gun stats themselves. Let's see.
Coincidentally, I do have Arisaka in Star Shutter. Mm-hmm. But it's a railgun. It's
It was a rifle, wasn't it, in the Second World War?
Yeah. That's
it's a company, right?
that produced them. Yeah,
and they say video games teach you nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And the rifles, even like the first ones, they had the emperor's chrysanthemum on them. They were considered a gift from the emperor of Japan. That's one of the things which few people know.
So, assuming I'm reading this right, I think the rate of fire is the number all the way on the right, being 20 out of the total capacity of 40. So that means you would fire a max of 20, and we rolled a 28 out of a close range of 15, assuming that there's no other things like dim light or other things detracting, and there's no bonuses like what do you call it, smart guns, or like the eyes that give you a bonus and stuff. And there's a lot of little things you can add to yourself.
Cybernetics,
Yeah. So assuming
I
that
think
there's,
I remember that.
so yeah, assuming that it's just standard 15 to hit without any pluses or minuses, that'd be 13 bullets, and each bullet is 2d6 plus 3. So
that's 26d6
yeah,
plus 3 times 13.
so 39. So let's see.
Yeah.
Actually, metal dice may be harder to read. There's no d6s with a number on it. All right.
I don't even have 26d6 to hand.
I do, because I got the
I have 20 to
dice.
hand, but no. I have them too.
Yeah, the Warhammer
ones
dice is
that come in
36
the little-
in a pack. Yeah, the little tiny one.
Oh. I think these are. I think I got one that's 20. It's in a tiny little cube.
So
I have them to hand because I'm making a thing.
15, 20, and then
25, and then
there we go. So 26. Is that how many
Yep.
d6 you're rolling? And then
26d6 plus 39.
can you hit R to roll? Oh, nice. Okay. So 96 damage.
I can see quite a few sixes there. That's not good.
So it's got 96 plus 39. Professional.
96 plus 39 is 135.
45? 35. Okay, and then what were we doing? We were doing nerve gas? So nerve gas
Yeah.
is 3 times 8d10. Let's grab our d10s over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then...
Okay. Ooh, okay. Okay. I think this could be close.
142.
Haha! We were right.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just.
It was...
Yeah. The sneaky, and I had the suspicion that on top of the damage, one could probably fail a save or something and get fucked. Even like harder than the damage itself. So.
Although it says, yeah, I mean, it says the effect is death, so...
Oh, only death. Okay, right.
Yeah, just that.
So yeah, it was, unless we're like fucking up the math. Yeah, it was 13 bullets, so that'd be, would it be 145 or 135? It's 96.
96 plus 39. 135.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 130. No, yeah, 135.
Yeah. Okay. So it is, nerve gas does do more damage. All right. So what do we? Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, we got 2 points. How do we keep track of points? Huh? Let's see. Oh wait, marbles, they look pretty.
We're fine.
We're fine.
1-1. Yeah, we're 1-1 so far.
All right. What next?
The car, maybe?
All right. The car is an interesting one. Is this the car? Yeah. So, this is determined by the speed of the moving vehicle divided by 20. So, let me go grab my... Oh, wait, there's a calculator in this system, right? Yeah, let's get the calculator out. Big calculator, big old guy calculator. So,
Nice.
say 300 miles per hour, and then we divide that by 20. I actually really like how easy it is to calculate the damage of getting hit by a thing in this system. but I would say it's probably too little. But anyway, so it's 15, and then car is times 3. So that'd be 45, and then that is a d6 for each. Yes. So 45 d6, and then let's see. Oh, we rolled a 9. So that'd be a 9 against we're assuming 15. So then it would be 14, and then that'd be 28 d6, and then plus the 14 times 3, which would be whatever that is. So let's see. Actually, it would be the same as this, just 3 more dice, right? No? How many DMs does it take to screw in a damage calculation? Where's the gun? Okay, yeah, so it's 2d6 per success, and it was 14 dice? Yeah. So it should be, this was 13, so this should just be 2 more dice, right?
Should be.
Alright, let's see, how much damage we got? 93. And then it was plus 3. So that's 13, or that's 14 times 3. So oh. There we go.
How much health do you typically have in Cyberpunk?
You know, I can't remember, but not a lot.
Like, is this all arbitrary? Is my question.
I'm gathering that if we go for let's say an average character and like a medium level game, they probably wouldn't have like 200 hit points or something. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, IV, once you get to like level, I don't know, 16, maybe some characters could.
Yeah.
Barely any D&D characters get to level 16, though.
This is all like level 1, I'm figuring, you know. I think... Yeah. So, honestly, I don't really remember super well. I know there's a little bit of armor, and the armor takes damage, and there's a lot of stuff like that, but... looking at this... I think, and I think you have a natural damage reduction and stuff. I don't know. The amount of survivability, you definitely die from full auto. Like, any way I calculated it, no matter how ridiculous I made myself. Like, I don't know if you saw Cyberpunk 2077 with Adam Smasher, the big guy, the big android guy.
I did not play that game.
He was in the trailers and stuff. He was like this big monster. So that's like the strongest thing you can be in that universe. In fact... You know, I don't have the calculations in front of me, but I was calculating that if you full autoed a tank with an Uzi, it would blow up the tank. Because it's just, like, too much damage. Like, it's just... The way they just balance it just doesn't really quite make sense. So anyways, 42 plus what do we get? 93? So... 93. So 135, and then the car was 45... d6. So I think the car is like without rolling all the dice again, I think the car is on average gonna do more damage, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
And if let's say from that card it showed also like motorcycle and heavy car and even a truck. So yeah, you have options when you're being turned into a bloody spot on the road.
Although to get a car to 300 miles an hour is also a little fast, I would say.
Yeah. It's nothing. You'll strap some rocket engines on the back.
The other thing is, like, if you use this to calculate like falling damage, terminal velocity is 90 something miles per hour, right? So you could fall from like space, hit the ground, and do less than full auto, right? I mean, assuming that. Well, I guess the Earth would characterize as the heaviest, right? I don't know. Unless your weight would be important in falling, which I guess it would be. No, I don't know. That's
it would be, yeah, because gravity would affect you more.
Yeah, that's another question. I will do this first, but I am curious your guys' take on fall damage in 5th edition. But yeah, let's see.
I didn't use. I never DM'd in 5th edition, so I prefer not to talk about it.
I'm okay with it. I will say, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, to take a little.
Although at a certain point, it's absurd.
Yeah. So to briefly explain it, they cap you off at like terminal velocity for falling, but they cap you off at 20d6. So, so you can fall from any height, and you can only take a maximum of 120 damage. So you could have more than 100.
They cap it off, do they?
Yeah. So fall damage it caps off at 20d6. But
I figured
dying. Oh,
no.
So if you're a barbarian at like level 5 and you jump off,
is that a new thing? Is that a new thing they did?
falling
damage is so racist. We need to cap it off.
No, that's been there for a long time. The fall damage is capped off at 20d6. But then I did the calculation in my like super caveman math, and I came up with like that's not terminal velocity. You'd be moving. That's not as fast as terminal velocity would be. So I was like, let's make it 50d6 is the cap. But if you're a barbarian,
know that falling from a great height is actually transphobic.
So if you're a barbarian and you take the average and you get 7 hit points per level, you're level 5, so that's 35. Oh no, the first level you get the max, right? So that'd be 12.
Yep.
So what is that then? 4. Calculator, help me.
Well, I mean, I would say that I would not have that 20d6 limit. So you're falling forever. Like if you're falling forever. Well, this is the thing in my worlds, particularly in the Shattered Lands. If you fall off something, you are doomed to fall for eternity. And if madness doesn't kill you, like if you don't like hit a rock on the way down.
So can someone go get you?
You'll die of I mean, in theory, but at a certain point, you're falling too fast for anyone to catch you.
So I'm assuming they'll have
the air friction kill you or something, or maybe you
like wind burn.
Suffocate. Yep.
I mean, potentially, yeah, wind burn would do it.
So if you just had a 16 in your constitution, meaning you didn't like power game yourself, you'd have 55 hit points as a barbarian at level 5. And you can only take a max of 120. So if you go into a rage, jump off any height of cliff, you take half damage. So unless you roll 6s on every single result of the fall damage, you can survive from any height as a barbarian at level 5.
You wouldn't break a leg or anything? Nothing?
No.
No, you'd superhero land.
You might fall prone, I think, but other than that...
That's like one of the only good moments in Critical Role, is when one of them decides to jump off a cliff.
And they're so upset.
And splatters on and they're like level 18 or something, and they splatter into the ocean.
Yeah, he forgot that there was a cap on fall damage.
Yeah, this is why I'd remove the cap, because it's stupid.
I mean, come on.
I suppose terminal velocity exists, so you could like make the argument. But this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys is like, what's your take on fall damage? Because on one hand, I can appreciate that there could be a barbarian player out there who's so pumped that they can grab the evil wizard and then do a pile driver off a cliff, and they'll take only like, less than their total health and then do a bunch of damage to the evil wizard. But at the same time, if you're a big barbarian, you throw a wizard off a cliff, you don't have to jump off with them. The damage they would take is like less than just a full round of attacks, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
rule versus cool has its limits.
Right.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want my 100% agree.
The problem with the rule of cool, as much as I try to subscribe to it as much as possible, the rule of cool can really like go over to rule of taking the piss.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. At least, let's see. In some of my games, I like to. Well, it depends on the party, on the players themselves. But in some of the games, I actually put a limit on that, and I would only have it like once a session, so it wouldn't be too much, and it's not like repetitive.
All right. So anyway, to wrap up this little thing, uh, grenade launcher is very simple. Definitely more with full auto. It's what does it say here? Oh, you know what? I think I grabbed the one that didn't say the damage, but I'm pretty sure it's 8d10 for a grenade. I could go check, but I'm pretty sure it's not that much damage for a grenade. I know missiles aren't that much damage. I think missiles are like 10d10 or something like that.
Yeah, because it's AOE damage, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's has
Yeah.
to has to
Grenade
be
launcher
balanced.
6d10. Surface to air missile 7d10. Interesting. Uh, railgun is 5d10 plus 10. So better to get shot by a full auto Uzi than yeah. It's also getting shot in the head is not as bad as you'd think in this system. Despite it being super lethal, it's really just full auto that's like the worst thing ever. The drug rules in this are really interesting, but I guess let's do landmines real quick. Finish this up. 4d10 per landmine, so it's 10 landmines, so it'd be 40d10 versus like let's say 14 was it 28d6?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what is so 40d10, very very easy math would be like average of like 5 each or something, so that'd be
200 damage.
yeah, let's say that. And then
Yeah.
14d6 would be like average 3, so let's say times 2. Is that right? It was 2d6. Now, granted, yeah, granted, the SMG is that much damage, but the assault rifles, all of them are much more. I chose the SMG just because I was just trying to find a gun that had excellent availability. There are assault rifles that have excellent availability, and you can see 5d6 on this assault rifle, but it says poor availability. So it's not impossible to get, but certain in the rules, like certain DMs, you decide how much access to guns people have, but everybody has access to excellent, no matter what kind of start or rules you're picking. So anyone could get the Arasaka thing, but you could also have 5d6, with like a so all of a sudden the damage increases by 3/5. But yeah, for this would be, was it 20? Oh no, I did math bad. So it'd be 14 times 3, right? Because it'd be average of 3 as a result. And then plus 3 times 2, so it'd be plus 39 or something. Yeah, so it looks like, what was this for? This was for Hopscotch on a Minefield. It looks like Hopscotch on a Minefield does win. Although if you had better guns, easily full auto. Like if you had the assault rifle, the damage goes up like super super high. And it's interesting.
If you don't trip all the mines, let's say, maybe.
That too, yeah. But yeah, it's like a difference of 2d6 to like 5d6 just on these random 2 examples. So it's like, And then also, if you go certain things can raise your damage of full auto. Like if you have a better chance of hitting, more bullets hit, etc., etc. And there's no consequence for fighting in melee with an assault rifle. And this is the reason I bring up this whole full auto thing, is not just to show how goofy the damage scale is, but it plays to a different sort of concern I have with role-playing games. And I know a lot of people are very focused on the story elements, and I am too. But I kind of consider myself to be into the whole of the system, not just the storytelling and not just the role-playing, but the combat as well. I feel like it all kind of plays together. Because in my experience, when you give someone dice to roll, they feel much more like their character has legitimacy. If they can do something violent with the character, it makes people feel like there's more of a legitimacy to their character. And so that's part of why I enjoy the combat. And I played a one-shot in which some people had machine guns, and then there was a guy who he wanted to be a techie character. You have a missile launcher. His missile launcher did very little damage compared to full auto with anything, right? And he was very upset. And yeah, and I had a melee weapon, but the best melee weapon is full auto. You know what I mean? There's no consequence for shooting someone point blank. Like no one can grab the barrel or anything like that. So it's just like, well, why have any melee weapons? There's a whole list of melee weapons on the sheet, but it's just like, you know. So if you were to run a game like this, I feel like you would have to change the rules for full auto to balance it with everything in order to make people not all do the same thing. Because when people are all doing the same thing, people tend to step on each other's toes, and then someone who does maybe a lot of like power gaming or something will be much better in like pretty much every situation being full auto man than another character who wants to dual wield pistols and be cool or throw shuriken or poison or something.
Oh yeah, or run around with a katana or something.
Yeah, run around with and there's a weapon in this system that's very iconic, which is the mono katana, which is
oh yeah.
I know they didn't. I know nothing in Cyberpunk is like invented by the system, but mono katana being a sword that's sharpened to one atom. So
yeah, like a vibroblade.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you could in theory, if the one atom gets between any atoms, you could cut any material just because you're pushing apart things rather than trying to like break through them or whatever.
Nice. So. That's the thing. I think there needs to be room in any system to make a character that's completely goofy and bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and have like the stuff, the gear means something.
Yeah.
Different things, different items and weapons. Otherwise, like, why have them?
Right.
Why fucking get them?
Yeah. Like why be anything but guy with assault rifle? There's another funny rule in the system, which is you can do additional actions for a cost of -1 or something like that to the next action, or is it something like that? So each gun has a rate of fire, but then so essentially the super like the super abusive thing you could do with the system is pull out a SMG, shoot full auto, pull out a new SMG at -1, shoot full auto, and then you can run around the combat with a shopping cart full of SMGs and just full auto everybody.
Yeah, I can see how some power players would love this system.
Yeah, in the session we played, guy runs around the corner that we couldn't see from a spot we couldn't see, and then he shoots us, right? Shoots the whole party full auto, and he kills not the full party, but he kills 3 people at once. 3 players die in one turn without having been able to see that guy, and like. That's a DM mistake, obviously, but the system shouldn't allow the DM to make that kind of mistake. You can't party wipe the entire party because a crackhead with an SMG like ran around the corner. Like it's.
I mean, if they decided to sleep in a crack alley.
We were. Yeah, I can understand that, but we were posted up behind cover. and like into tactical positions and stuff. But just how the
Yep.
system works, it just killed us all, or killed all of them. I was in a different spot, but it, you know.
Matt, would you like to go first? Please go first. I have like two short stories that I'll tell you guys after.
I'd say I'll alternate. So you do one of yours, and then I'll go in, and
Okay.
then you do another one.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned the guy who went for the missile launcher, and I said that I had a story. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a very short thing. It's like um, early. Well, it wasn't that early. The system was already tested, and it's like there were some like minor bugs to iron out. Like it took 5 years, but eventually everything was fine. And I'm starting a game with a brand new party, and one of my players said, "Okay, so I want to have an assault rifle." And because in my system you can like add small weapons like an under barrel attachment, and he said, okay, I'm a fan of these old movies with Chuck Norris, like the Vietnam war flicks and stuff. And he said, okay, so I want to buy like a nice assault rifle with an under barrel grenade launcher. And there was another player who laughed at him and said, like, ha ha ha, it's like a few D6, a few D4 even. It's like, this is pathetic. But that other guy, he didn't read everything. And yeah, it kind of does a little bit like on the smallish side, if you look at it, damage die. But the thing is that it's quite useful and portable, and you have a shit ton of different types of ammunition for it. And probably the second the second encounter they had, that guy with the assault rifle and the underbarrel grenade launcher, he used it all the fucking time because the map allowed it first, and he maximized the gear like to an insane level. And that other guy was like, but why is why is it so useful? And the first guy's like, but it says here in the rules, like, this, you can do this and this and this, like you can fire this type of specialized grenade like without having to waste action to change weapons, etc., etc. It's like, yeah, it does AoE damage. It does like a little bit lowish amount of damage, but it's not the point of this. So yeah, that's my story about the usefulness of missile launchers and grenade launchers in a future system.
I think mine wouldn't be. Mine isn't specifically grenade launcher focused, but I feel like paladins in general, particularly in 5e, are situationally useful, and if they're not in the situation where they're useful, they're just garbage.
Yeah, if
Like,
you get over level 7, you're good. Otherwise, you should have played better.
I mean, even then, like, I would have. So if you're fighting the undead, like we were in a dungeon where we were fighting predominantly undead stuff, so I could just like basically spank anything. But the second we fought anything flying, it was like, okay, well, I can't really do anything because I have a close-up weapon. I have like I think it was an axe or something like that, or a longsword, and also I have javelins, and javelins suck. Like they run off your strength. They So I mean, for paladins, they're okay because they run off your strength, but
Right.
they have a limited range, and everything you fight is always going to be. If it's flying, anything you fight is going to be more than like, I think 60 feet away or 20 feet away.
So I would.
Thingies, javelins are like 20-60 or something like that, and it's always just going to be too far away.
I feel like if I was gonna put in a flying enemy, it would be. I would put in just enough that one player could deal with them. And I would do it specifically to help a player feel like a hero, you know? Because if there's always a thing that all the melee guys can just beat up, sometimes a flying guy will help that ranged guy sort of feel like, or, you know, feel useful. Especially flying minions or something like that, where even if someone has a very unoptimized character, just the fact they can hit something very far away.
Oh yeah.
I think that's fine, but this was a situation where everyone was optimized to fight this thing, because we had a ranger that could fight it easily, and then a sorcerer that could fly, or a warlock that could fly, that picked up picked up the cleric and then took them straight into melee with it, several hundred feet away.
Right.
So I was left there going like, well, there's nothing I can do here.
How do you
At
run a
all.
dragon, you know? Like, because dragons can always move so far, so why not move really far and like get the breath weapon back or something? You kind of have to. I find it's always difficult to convince the players that the boss is as hard as it could be while not making it as hard as it could be. I've had a few dragon encounters where I did a couple things that people really really liked it, by making it very dynamic. Every turn trying to have the dragon do something, like rip off a tower and throw it, or I don't know, react to someone's damage by having it run away from that player and then take its opportunity attack. But it's hard because you could have the dragon fly 1,000 feet in the air, get its breath weapon back, come back down, breathe on them, you know, and then keep on doing that. And yeah, it's also I had an encounter one time where the ranger wanted to start shooting from 600 feet away before anyone else was in combat, and you know, the scenario obviously was a bad one, right? But it was, I was trying to set it up so that they would do like a espionage, like sneak into the base instead of, you know, it was just a bridge that was 1,000 feet long, in broad daylight, and they could just see you while you were crossing the bridge. So they did it anyway. I think it was just mostly it was a public group at a game store, so I think they just didn't feel comfortable strategizing with each other, and they were just like, yeah, let's just go in the front door. So then I was like tortured. Everyone was tortured. The ranger's having a ton of fun shooting every turn, and he's taking forever to roll his dice and stuff, and like you know, and I'm trying to like, oh, why don't you guys I don't know, it's just like yeah, so it was like, you know, it's a lot of turns, right? Because they only had 30 feet of movement, because I was like, it's difficult terrain too, you guys, it's an ice bridge, you guys really don't want to go across the bridge. And like after piling all that stuff up, you know, because I don't know, I was working within constraints too, because it was the Realm of Giants or something. I was supposed to be running a particular module because then people were supposed to be able to buy the module, etc. It's like kind of like advertising. So I'm running this specific module, so I have to follow what's in the book, kind of. And so I have to actually have them attack these fortresses, and they were very bad in that they would fight, and no matter what the outcome of the fight was, they would run away and go to sleep for 24 hours and then come back. And it's like, you know, just
cheese, pure cheese.
It was like an eternal loop of like, you know, because the guards, they replaced the guards, right? And they're not just not going to have guards now, so. Yeah. But like, what do you I feel like that's a scenario you have to really avoid. Is one player can do stuff and other players can't.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
to a degree.
Yeah.
Or just balance it out so everyone gets a chance to
Yeah.
Yep.
shine.
The
And
real life time
sure,
balance
sure
is
they
important.
make sure they have like access to certain items and gear that will allow them like more options. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
put a gun emplacement or something on the map.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe some like uh, magic artillery or something that would blow up the gates or something. Yeah,
Oh, you know what you could do? Have something the dragon's defending, that the paladin could go. The paladin with the shitty javelins could go like start breaking the thing it's defending to draw its attention. I don't know, something like that.
yeah, or do the thing from the Dragon Ball with I don't know if you watched the earliest series with little Goku. There was a guy there who looked like a Chinese kung fu martial artist, and his way of transportation was cutting a tree or like a stone column, throwing it into the air, and then leaping after and landing on it while it flew in the air. And he was so insanely strong that like it was like a jet basically. It flew as fast as a as a jet. I know it's ridiculous, but that's
Right.
yeah.
So did you have another story?
Uh, yeah, I have a couple of them. The first one was that thing about like the under barrel grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Um, I could tell you about the let's say the vehicles. I had thing uh, where the party decided that they wanted like a small, well, not actually a tank, but an armored fighting vehicle, and they ended up building it themselves because you can do it and you can do that in Star Shutter. So they ended up building and designing it and building it themselves, and but they made a mistake. They made an error of judgment, and the very first time when they entered like a vehicle battle, they discovered that the turret of their vehicle doesn't have like the cannons. They don't have an elevation, and aircraft can simply hover above them and just drop bombs and just shoot them straight above them. So wasn't it wasn't fun.
So it's like a Rata tank, but without the AA guns.
Yeah, yeah. Well, pretty much they expected to be able to like shoot up to a certain degree, and they completely forgot about it. And I asked them a number of times, but I guess they were preoccupied with other things. So yeah, it was a nice vehicle. It was a good vehicle. It had like excellent systems and stuff. It was fast, but I mean you can't go as like faster than ground attack craft. It's not quite possible. So they got plastered, and the next time they designed another vehicle, and they specifically placed like a anti-aircraft turret with surface-to-air missiles and an automatic railgun with flak attachments and shit. So, but it was like just like a similar situation to what you mentioned with the dragon. Fly up to like 1,000 feet, recharge its breath weapon, and then go back. In this case, it's just It's just that the high tech version of a ground attack helicopter and a tank hunter. You just fly on top of them and just dropped a couple of plasma bombs, and they got fucked. So.
I see. Yeah. All right. So here's a question. What do you think about allowing a player to make a character like kind of based on an exploit? So there's exploits, and then there's like to me, I feel like if someone's like main thing is they want to be this specific thing, it makes more sense to me than someone who just has a character and then noticed something in the rulebook and is like, oh, I should fight like this in order to be stronger. So I guess a more reasonable example is in 5th edition, you can get a spell called something summoning. I can't remember what it's called, but you can summon X amount of creatures that are tiny. So I think it's 8 creatures that are tiny. And then one of the creatures you could summon, it's like a druid spell or something. One of the creatures you can summon is a pixie. And pixies have 1 casting of transform. You could turn someone into an animal. So you could do this summoning spell to summon 8 pixies and then have your whole party transformed into something. And the example most people do is T-Rexes, because that's technically an animal. And so the druid buffs the whole party by turning them all into T-Rexes, and they call themselves like Rex Raptor from Yu-Gi-Oh or something, and they're into it. That's
at what level can they do that? At what level can they do that?
You need a 4th level spell, so
oh god, no. So maybe like 6 or 7 or maybe 8.
Yeah. I think it's level 7. You get 4th level spells. So what do you think about that? I've never had to encounter it, right? I've never dealt with it myself. As a player, in a one-shot, I used it, but I've never dealt with it in a campaign. And I've heard 2 arguments for it. One, it's a good exploit because it helps the whole party to play as T-Rexes and they have fun like that. And then I've heard an argument against it that you remove all of the unique powers of the party by having them all be T-Rexes. And so I've never really had to make a call on it or guide people into having more fun or anything. I'm just curious your guys' take on that.
But also, would it not also just remove most of the challenge of most of the encounters?
I mean, the
if you
challenge
could
of the
just at any
encounters...
time turn them into pixies and you into T-Rexes.
Well, the challenge of the encounters is based on the DM, so that's another thing, right? Like, you could ramp up the difficulty so that they can handle the HP of a T-Rex, which is like, I don't know, 100 and something. But then they're forced into it, because then they can only ever be a T-Rex at the start of the fight until they get nuked for a bunch of damage, and then have to switch to their regular characters without the T-Rexes.
I'd say for cool sake, they would use it like maybe once or twice, but that should not define the game. Otherwise.
That's definitely crossing from cool into taking the piss, though.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. Like
I don't know.
Some maybe use it for roleplay sake, maybe. I don't know. Maybe
I don't know.
Some,
to me, it's
stuff.
Yeah, to me, it's not quite at the realm of an exploit exactly, but I definitely heard people call it an exploit, and I think taking away the uniqueness of each character is a problem. I think it could make the game very stale too. But all the solutions I've heard people come up with for why they're not allowed to do it is I thought was bad solutions. One of them was like, oh, well, the pixies would just say no, and it's like, you can't do that. And then another solution was like, oh, they become stupid because they're T-Rexes and T-Rexes are dumb, and so they can't control their turns. It's like, that's a very bad idea. So 5 angry people stare at the DM while the DM plays with his action figures is a very bad strategy. I would not go for that one. You, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, and then at some point you're gonna have multiple fourth level spell slots. You're gonna have fifth level spell slots. You could do it multiple times to the point where every combat is just T-Rexes.
I mean, you can counter spell it, I suppose.
So do you? But I mentioned that to a friend of mine who's a DM, and he said that really pissed him off because he was like, "Well, I want to have a campaign with lots of zombies and stuff, or I want to have a campaign with ghosts, and I don't want them to have dispelling swords or dispelling spells or things like that. It controls sort of the variety of you know, what you do. Like in his perspective, the only people with spells should be bosses. There shouldn't be minor creatures with spells." From his perspective, so it changes the party or the monster composition of what the players are going up against.
Well, that's I'm not sure what that guy's going for then. I mean, I think he's probably going for this is a power fantasy until a boss where you get challenged. Like if nothing has any magic at all.
No,
and it's just mobs of garbage.
No, that guy always had really hard campaigns. everything was super fucking strong. It's just that he wanted it to be strong as in not magic. I don't know why. It's just, I don't know. I guess some weird like OCD that guy had. It's just his like quirk. What was that?
I said probably his pet peeve.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know. And if you have a certain kind of enemy in your campaign, I guess it makes sense that they can't all use magic necessarily. I don't know.
I mean, not all of them, but at a certain point, I don't know. It's just going to be more of a challenge, isn't it? Like it's going to be, and it's going to add more variety if some of them have magic.
I would agree. I think also, I think whenever you're DMing, you're always changing everything to your players. There's a certain amount of stuff that I try to make without them in mind, in quotes. Like I try to make stuff that's just a flat challenge, and then I pretend as though I don't know if they can beat it, and then I'll act surprised or worried, and be like, "Uh-oh, did I make it too strong?" or something like that, and almost as though to try and explain to the players that the challenge is separate from me. It's not me playing a war game while they're playing a role-playing game. I'm setting up a challenge so they can feel like heroes and feel this story and tell the story to me as well as me to them, like this sort of thing. So I think from his perspective, although I can't really speak for him, I think he was more of the idea of like he's making up a thing and then it should be the ultimate extreme of that, where it's like I don't know, he shouldn't have to customize it because someone's doing something stupid, but you kind of do, in my experience anyway. Kind of always have to customize stuff, but
yeah.
What I would do if I had his scenario with the zombies, I would say that a certain zombie has a certain sword that seems suspicious, and it's like magic or something, right? And so they're worried about the sword, and if they get hit by the sword, it poofs them out of being a T-Rex. It's a dispelling sword or something. There's certain stuff you could do. Like if the pixie gets hit, the pixie has to make like a check to not lose concentration on the spell. So you could have the satchel of pixies get attacked or something. But some of those things require metagaming on your part as the DM to make the enemy aware of how the spell works, especially if they're only ever using it on enemies that aren't suspecting of how it works. So,
yeah, there's already a degree of metagaming going on though. If they've gone, we're being T-Rexes again, because it's.
I mean, I don't know. If you put yourself in that situation, you would always do the thing that was a good idea, right? You wouldn't be concerned with variety as much as you would be of like winning if it was your own life on the line. So it almost makes more sense than using a variety of spells, and that's a problem in the game design more than it is with the players. Maybe here's a solution. I don't know. I would make that spell. I would make it like you can't use the summon creature spell to do that. But then I would give them another spell that's like has some other restriction on it that they can cast to turn everyone into T-Rexes, and they're even stronger. They get bonuses or something. It's a better spell. It's a better spell than jury rigging the summon wild creatures to transform you into T-Rexes. And then I would put whatever restriction.
Well, it would be polymorph, wouldn't it? That would transform everyone into T-Rexes.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a bootleg polymorph, isn't it? Well, so you could give them one of those, and then you could make it have some kind of restriction. I don't know what about it would really bother me until I saw it. Until I saw the scenario. There's other things like you can't cast spells while you're a T-Rex, but depending on how you do the rules and stuff.
Is the cats? Is the little hands? The T-Rexes,
Yeah.
Although
I've heard rulings that you can use your fighter features as a T-Rex. So you could choose between the multi-attack the T-Rex naturally has, or you could use the fighter's multiple attacks in their attack action. So
I hate this so
right?
much. It just sounds like it's just so much cheese. It's so cheesy. It's like a poutine. It's so cheesy.
It definitely is cheesy. I would say, but it's, I can't really find a logical argument to say it's not allowed, and so I would have to I feel like I would have to work with it somehow if they discovered it.
Yeah. You have to like the example I can give you from my own experience was a group of players who they wanted to move about as flying creatures, and
what kind of system was this?
That's it was 3.5, but heavily modified for my fantasy realm.
Gotcha.
And they said, okay, we don't want to move around riding horses or whatever. Like we want to fly. I'm like, okay, I'll allow it. But I did put some limits on it. They could use like a polymorph style potion, which one of them was an alchemist, and then she could make it. But of course, it wasn't super cheap, and took time to make. They couldn't use it in combat, so they would only fly from point A to point B.
Okay.
They probably do some role play in the shape of these griffin-like creatures, and that was it. That was it. And I worked with it because they were. It was fun for them, so yeah. I just said, okay, I'll work with you, no problem. We'll just make it put a couple of small limits here and there, so it wouldn't ruin your campaign.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal, is to keep them from ruining their own fun, right? Like some people want really long, they want to take really long turns, but then everyone takes really long turns, and then everyone's upset. Here's another. These are very easy question, but what do you guys think about satchels of gerbils and troll fingers? I've mentioned satchel of gerbils to Matt.
Yeah.
But I don't. Are you familiar with that? Being someone who might have played 3.5.
It was long ago, but like something is like at the back of my head.
Okay, let me. I'll for the audience. I'll briefly explain it. Let's assume it's a barbarian, but I think anyone can get this feat. There's something called cleave, which is so if you kill an enemy, you get to make another attack, or if you crit an enemy, you get to make another attack on another enemy that is adjacent to you. Then great cleave is you spin around and cut everybody in a circle around you. So you get great cleave.
No, that was the whirlwind attack. So the great cleave is the advanced cleave, which allows you unlimited attacks if you keep killing them if you
Right,
keep
right,
killing it.
right. I'm just putting flavor on it. So like Great Cleave is you get to make an attack on everybody adjacent to you if you kill a creature. Right. So you carry a satchel of gerbils, throw it on the ground next to the Elder Dragon, you kill one gerbil. Now you get to make a free attack on everybody around you. Guess what? There's 30 gerbils in the satchel. You kill them all, and you get to make 30 free attacks on the Elder Dragon. In addition to all your normal attacks, right? I would never allow that.
No, I would allow it. So what I would do is, if they killed one gerbil and did that with cleave, I would have the rest of the gerbils immediately run,
Okay.
or I would have the gerbils immediately attack the player, and then run.
I wouldn't try to work it in the world or anything. I would just be like, no, it just doesn't work. You just can't. Because then you end up in like, well, I don't know. It depends on your players, but you could end up in a scenario where they're just like, okay, well then I'll get a big hammer and I'll smush them all at once, or I'll have an explosive in the satchel and I'll blow up a satchel bomb of gerbils, and that will mean that I can spin around like a helicopter and cut them.
No.
I would still only allow them to do that once though. If they do that with the gerbil bomb, it would be a case of, okay, well, I mean you only get one cleave then, because you're supposed to kill one and then hit, and then kill one and then hit, right?
No, because you would hit everybody adjacent to you, so you'd hit the dragon, right? But then who else is adjacent to you? Other gerbils. So you attack one gerbil, and then it dies, and you get a free attack on everything around you. It would chain how they think it would, and even if you, yeah, it does work exactly how the exploit says it should work. It should, but
or before they, as they like grab a gerbil and go to, I mean, even grabbing a gerbil, it would be like an animal handling check, or even getting the gerbils. Because you'd have to have just a bag of gerbils with you all the time, wouldn't you?
Yes. So it would be limited by how often can you get your hands on a bunch of gerbils.
I would have the gerbils escape all the time then.
Yeah.
It's obvious why they're doing it.
Understandable. But then you have this like war going on between you and your players, and I just feel like they get more and more toxic.
If they're doing that, they've declared war on you already.
Fair enough, I guess. I don't know. You could do something fun where you're like, okay, so that doesn't work. However, you can buy yourself a magical satchel of gerbils in which it works, and it costs this much, or something like that. And it's a legendary item or something. I don't know. You could
or the gerbils are like super rare, and they cost a shit ton of money.
Because the other thing you have to consider is like, what are the other players feeling, right? So it's like, Gregor the Barbarian walks up to the fucking Elder Dragon, drops his satchel of gerbils, and he nukes the dragon for 1 million damage, right? And then there's like the wizard is like, oh, that would have been cool, and a cool opportunity to test my spells on. And you could there's limited versions of that too. So if you can be surrounded by 8 targets, let's say that there's a spell in 3.5 to summon a bunch of woodland creatures. You summon them all around the barbarian kills one. Now with your one spell, you give them 8 or 7 extra attacks. So, I don't know. Can you allow that? The specifically, I think the Satchel of Gerbils is the most horrendous abuse of the rules.
I don't remember ever playing in a campaign or with a DM that or like a one shot that anyone used that.
I've never experienced it. What do you?
When you said it now, I kind of slowly remember like someone telling me a story about exploiting Great Cleave, but I think they did not use a bag of gerbils. They had like skeletons or something.
Oh, okay. That makes a little bit more sense too.
And the DM allowed it because the party was evil, and they had, I think they had a necromancer, and he was like, they were actually had like carriage full of bones. And after each battle, they would load the carriage with the corpses of their enemies,
Okay.
and they would use them. So there was like a lot of microeconomics
I'm more okay with that. That's more.
that's a bit like, and they
Yeah.
didn't have like an endless supply of even though they killed a lot of mobs, but they didn't have like an endless supply of skeletons.
That I'm more okay with. What do you think, Matt?
I think in an evil I mean, this is the thing. Like in an evil campaign, it's very, very thematic.
Okay.
Of just like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I'm feeling it a
Why,
little
I'm
more,
not going to
yeah.
blanch at killing a bunch of gerbil.
Now, what
In a
about
sense,
troll fingers? I think troll fingers is the most banned tactic in a pen and paper thing. To briefly explain that, in the original D&D, it said that by the rules, trolls would regenerate from even the smallest part if they weren't dealt fire damage. So you cut off the fingers of a troll, keep it in a bag, and then you prune it every day. And you cut the fingers, and then they regrow to fingers, and you just keep on pruning them, so they can't regrow into a troll. And then you want to attack a place, so you throw the fingers over the fence, and then you go and have lunch, and you wait a couple days, and then trolls grow to full size in the noble's garden, and start wrecking stuff. And then afterwards, you kill the trolls with your troll poison or whatever you do. That to me is the
cool.
most cancer.
that's like I would agree with you, man. That's cool. I mean, as a ploy to screw with some obnoxious noble, and like if you're let's say a swashbuckling rogue or someone's like, yeah, let's like let's do a number on this guy or this like cackling old bitch noble woman who's like screwing with the people and this, yeah.
Or you're trying to discover where they're smuggling goods to, and you can't figure it out. You stick some troll fingers in there; they'll make some noise when they get there.
Contextually, I probably would allow that.
Yeah.
Like if it's something like, let's say you've got like an impregnable fortress.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this is where they are. It's defended on all sides.
My problem with it is that it doesn't require a class. It could be done by any character who has, like, read that on a forum, right?
Yeah, but it does require planning and
It does. That's true.
higher brain processes on the part of the group. So
It's also assuming that the noble, let's say, doesn't have access to fire. So okay, well they'll be able to kill the things with fire. So it's the kind of thing that can be a distraction for you to infiltrate or something like that. But it wouldn't necessarily just be a automatic win.
How do you spell gerbil?
G with a G. A gerbil.
gerbils.
I definitely spelled that wrong. Anyway, let's see. Gerbil.
Joseph Gerbils.
T-Rex.
I had like when you mentioned this, I have like a short story about when Matt mentioned like using this similar style of a distraction, so a party could like breach
I'm curious.
well defended fort or something. One of my groups to breach a slaver's compound and grab the slaves, like free the slaves instead of them being killed. Well, they or used as a leverage for the to stop the party and say, like the slavers would say, "Oh, we know that you came here to free the slaves because they're your friends. Oh, well, you have to surrender because you'll kill them." So they had to use like some sort of a distraction, and the distraction had to be sizable. So what they did, they went to a nearby planet. They found the biggest and nastiest elephant. Was it elephant? I think it was a mammoth-sized predator. And they invested a little bit of their resources, fitted it with a control chip and like surgically implanted in the brain, bolted some armor on the thing, and they just dropped it from their ship and sprinkled some pheromones like with a drone or something on the slave guards, and they went after them. And while they were, of course, they eventually killed it because they had beam guns and shit. They killed the predator, but it was like, oh shit, this I don't know how many tons of teeth and flesh encased in armor is munching us. Oh shit, oh shit. And yeah, that was great. I loved it.
Yeah, that's yeah. You guys are kind of like wearing me down on the troll fingers. Now I'm kind of like, oh, maybe it wouldn't be the worst cancer ever. Here's a question: what order would you put these things in order of like least acceptable to most acceptable? Like, what do you think is the most out of those three? The gerbils, the T-Rex transformation, and the troll fingers. What would you say is the least acceptable?
Which one would annoy me the most?
Yeah.
I'm torn between the T-Rexes and the gerbils.
Me too.
Because they both have the same problem of teasing stuff and removing the agency of the party. Of the two, I think the gerbils are slightly more offensive.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Okay. That's interesting. So, and then would you guys put the T-Rex in the middle then, and then the
Yeah, the T-Rex would be in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's a big gap between. There's a small gap between gerbil and T-Rex, and a big gap between T-Rex and Trollfingers.
I would go least acceptable troll, then gerbils, then T-Rex. I think the T-Rex thing is probably the most problematic because the gerbil, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the gerbil thing does an insane amount of damage, so you could kill anything with it. That causes a lot of problems. But then there's connected problems too. It's like, what if the druid is like, oh, that's awesome, I can summon a bunch of birds around you, and then you can kill them all, and then get 7 extra attacks instead of just the low damage that I would do as a druid. Can I allow that and stuff? And like the troll fingers, I feel like if they developed a way of instantly killing trolls somehow, or whatever it was, that would, and then they stopped entering combat altogether and just started chucking fingers over a fence. Yeah, there's all different ways these could all be like problems and all different solutions you'd have to come to.
I feel like with the troll fingers, you have the most wiggle room as a DM.
You do, definitely, because it's not a combat. There's no rules for it. It's just like, what would the trolls do? What happens with the trolls?
Yeah.
You could have the noble that they're very annoyed at. He could notice the trolls growing, capture them, and then start breeding his troll army. And then
Yes.
And then he starts like doing stuff with trolls. He's like oppressing he's like attacking his rivals and stuff with an army of trolls, and then you get a letter and like his rival is like, "Oh, I need help. I need to hire you." There's some idiot gave him a bunch of trolls.
Backfire. The plan backfires.
Somehow he's gotten his hands on an army of trolls, and we don't know what to do.
He's got infinite trolls.
Yes.
Someone taught him how to just make infinite trolls.
Oh boy. That would be great. Yeah.
I told you to recover his mind control item.
I remember. I think it was. When was it? Doesn't matter. But I remember. I had one of the few bad groups, like evil groups, in Star Shutter, and they had captured a wraith, a non-life being, which is an energy creature.
Okay.
Negative energy creature, and they said, okay, so we will use it, feed it, put it where people can't kill it, like, because to kill it you need, like, just like a troll in the example with the troll, you need a specific type of damage to kill the troll, like fire or acid. In this case, it's not that supremely hard to kill this type of being. You just need enough particle beam weapons and be able to see it and actually hit it, but it's doable. So they picked places where the people were primitive, and they basically let this being to on a leash. The problem was that the more souls it eats, it grows in power and in intelligence. And at one point, it ate them. So and they were like other because they were working for like a high Tesaran noble, and the noble was like, fuck off. It's like, you're no longer working for me. You're using this shit. This shit is dangerous. I don't want to be in any way like linked with you, with your actions. You're going to fuck up eventually. I denounce you. Like, you're no longer my underlings. Like, fuck off.
Fair enough.
And they were like, but why? We can provide you with so much, like, more services. We can do more shit for you. We'll use this thing to kill your enemies. He's like, nah. It's like the path to ultimate power is not through borrowed strength. Like, no, fuck off. And that was me actually warning them that something.
Oh, that is too dangerous.
Yeah, and they were like, nah. Well, nothing will happen. Like, we have it on a leash. And yeah, at one point the creature outgrew the leash. So.
Now here's another thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, both of you, is the rules for, I don't know if I can zoom in close enough on this that it's like super readable. I guess not. So the rules for drugs in cyberpunk, they're very abusable. So the creator of the system, he believed that drugs were like the reason that people in the inner city had problems, right? He blames it for like all the problems that like black people have, etc. And so he designed the rules for drugs to be very prohibitive to using them, despite the fact that cyberpunk has lots of drugs in it as a genre. He didn't like them, and so he designed the rules with that bias. Now, the issue there is that he left it wide open. He has dart guns in it where you can inject people with drugs. He left it wide open to making the worst drug possible with no consequence. So
right.
There's positive effects, and they have a difficulty that they add, which is quite high, right? So if you increase the reflex by 1, it is a difficulty of 15, and so like the maximum bonus you can get is 20 on a roll, so that makes it very hard, right? But you can lower the side effects. You can lower the difficulty by adding side effects, and there appears to be no limit to how far you can. Well, I guess that's not true, but you can add effects that don't do anything. That don't do anything good for the enemy that you're shooting with the dart gun, and then keep on adding more negative effects. So it's a little bit hard to read here.
Yeah, I can't see anything basically. I only see the injector, the picture of the
Okay.
injector. Text is.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
I forgot. I can just do plus size.
Ha,
That's
ha.
bigger. There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay, that's nice. That's
Okay.
that's a bit better.
So yeah. Now, so for example, let's make the worst drug possible. So there's some kind of thing where it's like you can only lower the side effects to a limit of. You can lower the difficulty a certain. There's a limit on how far you can lower the difficulty, but I believe that's just in terms of rolling. Like you can't get it below 10, but it doesn't specifically say you can't keep on adding side effects that don't lower the difficulty. So there's like DM calls to be made, right? But you could give him cancer. Causes cancer in 3 and 10, so I guess that's a dice roll.
You could also make them sterile or something, I think.
Yeah, they're sterile on there. But that's not going to help you in combat, you know?
Oh, that would suck.
Delusions. Paranoia.
Well, no, I think better than delusions is psychotic rage.
Jesus.
Will attack anyone within range. Nerve degeneration, 2- to reflex, lost permanently. So now here's the question you make as the DM, like, how many times can you add one side effect? Because it doesn't really have a super... It's not like you pick one side effect and then that's it. I mean, you could assume that you can't stack them. But, you know, even if you pick one of these once... Oh, wow. Each time the drug... the drug has a fatal component that can kill the unwary. Each time the drug is taken, a death save must be made with a negative modifier equal to the drug's strength minus 1. How do you increase the drug's strength? Okay, strength is 1 to 3. Add the strength of the drug to its base difficulty. Okay, so base difficulty... maybe that's on the page prior that I didn't grab. Let's see. I'll go check from the larger PDF. I assume the base difficulty is like 10 because that was what I saw that you couldn't reduce it past. I think drugs are right by combat. I could be wrong, but. So let's just whatever. Let's just assume it's 10. So base difficulty 10. So you make it 13, and then you add side effects to lower the to make the drug easier to make. So you just throw on delusions and paranoia, hallucinations, tremors. There's no difficulty increase for adding bad effects. So, you know, if you have any skill, you could just put together one of these drugs. And then the kicker is the cost is lowered based on the difficulty level. So if you put it at a minimum difficulty level, you could have a very easy to produce drug that then, you know, so you have a dart gun, potentially a dart gun that could do more damage than full auto, and you put death as an effect, so they immediately make a death save with -3. I'm not sure exactly how bad that is because I'm not super familiar with the system. I haven't run it in a long time, but yeah. It's interesting. In this particular system, I would let someone do whatever they want with the drugs because as OP as they can possibly reason, because full auto will always be stronger. And it could be interesting to have like an evil mad scientist character shooting people with a dart gun.
Oh yeah, that too. I mean, I would agree that the way it's set up with the negative effects and everything, It's pretty much spot on. But it can be abused. Um, it pretty much depends if you want to allow everything that so much usage of this, overuse of this the entire thing could.
That's the question, isn't it? Like, if so many things are overpowered already,
Yeah.
then and something like full auto is that overpowered already? I don't know. Would there be any point even in not allowing it?
Yeah. You can also, yeah, like I'm just looking at the worst effects that would help you in combat. Irrational fear, they drop everything and cower in near catatonia until the drug wears off. Duration
Yeah.
is
It's basically debuff dart gun.
so. Wait a second. So you throw a d6 and then also the cost multiplying the difficulty level by 25 euro. Okay. So, yeah, it's euro bucks. So they combine the euro and the dollar. Forgot about that. So you have to figure out the minimum, right? Because you can make a lot of doses if you could get the cost down. If you could get the difficulty down very, very low, to let's say 1, it would just cost 25 bucks to make a shot, which I guess is a big cost. But if you rolled, sorry, so it's 1d6 plus 1 to determine the total amount of time. How do you get it to be hours? I would like to have someone in irrational fear for 1d10 plus 1 hours. That sounds very good. Is that if you roll a 1 or you roll 2 or you roll a 3? I don't quite get it. 1d6 plus 1. Yeah, can you guys make any sense of this? I don't really understand.
I guess it would be
1d6 returns that amount.
if you invest more money.
Oh God, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Roll
stuff.
a d6 plus 1 to determine the amount of time. I mean, I think it depends who's rolling it. If you're rolling it,
I see what
as
it
the
is.
person who did it, you roll high.
1 to 3. That must be referring to the strength. So.
Oh, okay.
So if you make it strength 3, it's hours. So in combat,
Okay.
an hour I think is probably longer than the combat is going to take. So if you make it strength 3, you hit him with it. There's no check as long as you actually get him with the dart. Irrational fear, they're in catatonia. So you can also make him sterile for fun.
For fun.
Paranoia, hallucinations, tremors. Oh boy.
Yeah, death is a good one. I think death is good in combat usually.
Well, that's what poisons are for, but okay.
Yeah, there's no poison damage. It's just death. Death save has to be made. So
Addiction.
okay, so each hour following the last dose of the drug. Yeah, so that's not good for combat.
Unless you're playing like you're using it to extract information or something.
Right.
You
Yeah, so you
grab
can make,
someone, inject it with this, and say, okay, so you're gonna die if we don't give you the next dose. Tell us everything you know, or do that for us. Like go assassinate your boss,
So
or,
really?
something, or unlock the this, give us this,
So-
steal this, which is actually what some gangs do in real life.
Yeah, get someone addicted to drugs. So let's say you just want to make the simplest thing. You could just do death and then irrational fear, right? And then if you're not allowed to put it into negative difficulty, which I guess you shouldn't be able to, you could add effects that won't help them in combat, like depressed. Why is that a bonus effect? What the fuck is happening?
They just don't really want to. They just don't really want to do it anymore.
It doesn't actually
Yeah.
matter. None of these will stop them from being in a catatonic fear state. So you can give them a contraceptive, antibiotic. You can make their reflexes and strength super high. They're still in the fear state, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can feel no pain and still be dead. You can heal them even, and they still would die from the death, right? So, yeah. So the drug, it's very easy to make a bad drug, which I guess is true in real life. The cost is interesting. I'm curious. Oh, that's page 125. That'll be easier to navigate by. Let's see. Is there a minimum cost you can get it to? Okay. Let's see.
I can tell you, I pulled my own drug chart from my game. I can tell you about
Oh, how
my
do you do
drugs.
that? Do you have it like potions where it like has a lot of like beneficial effects?
Well, the thing is that they
There it is. It's in
uh,
side effects. Sorry, let's interrupt you. Side effects. Can ever buy cost below 2. So the minimum cost for these drugs is 50 euros.
okay.
So that's a decent bit, I think. Because I think an assault rifle costs 600. So that's like a fair cost for ammo. Yeah, I guess it is kind of balanced.
Yeah, maybe.
Although instant kill, like, how much should the bullets for the golden gun be? You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
even if you don't kill them,
If it's an instant kill, they should at least get to have a save or something. Otherwise,
I wonder if
a
there's
bit-
full
it's
auto
a bit
dart
broke.
guns.
But in Star Shutter, the drugs there are just a couple of them, and they are very famous. And each of the few powerful cartels they produce just one these drugs, and they are ancient, made by only them, and their formulas are kept secret. And not all of them are super deadly. Um, there there is there are 2 of them which you can actually survive after like a long-term usage, and keep getting healed if you have access to certain technologies, but eventually it will wear you down. So you can't just make a dart gun. I mean, you can, but you'll have to be part of that cartel or have access to the specific drug which you want to use.
Oh, you know what I forgot to mention to you guys? Also, do you do it more like Fallout, where it's like they are negative but they are positive kind of thing, or do you lean either way, like make it potions where it's no big deal, or
Well, they like regular people with enough intelligence. They don't go nowhere near these, but like dumber people, they would use them because they don't think of the consequences. And let's
Right.
say I'll give you like an example of just one of them, which is called Stardust. When you take it, it's a quote unquote recreational drug. It's like equal to multiple orgasms, one after the other.
It doesn't sound like the
And
best in combat drug to take.
no, it's
I
quote
mean,
unquote.
you could, if you load it into a dart, fire it at the other people.
Yeah, I guess more of like an RP sort of or storytelling kind of drug than a middle of combat like Jet or something from Fallout.
Yeah. The stuff called Sparkle, let's say, this is something which people who are hackers and they use cybertech implants in their brains.
Turbo caffeine.
They used it to beef up their minds, and this is it gives them like a hefty bonus. It tires them out, but eventually they if they keep using it without taking care of their brains and their cyber gear, they would like the borders between real and cyberspace and what is unreal even in cyberspace will just vanish, and they will have crazy hallucinations and stuff. It's considered a quote unquote harmless stimulant. Yeah, and a lot of corpos take it. They have like, especially the rich ones, like to so they can meet a deadline if they are working with computers and such, and they use it to do things quicker.
Makes sense. The high pressure put on those jobs. You just have to take the drugs.
Yep.
I thought that was in Cyberpunk 2077. I've always thought it's very limiting to have death be like the end all be all. It's a very common in like stories for like death to be this sort of impenetrable barrier. But I feel like if you put death as something that's more malleable, you can do a lot more interesting stuff. Like the corpos in Cyberpunk 2077, one of the companies can make you not die, right? Like you can be downloaded into a chip and then put into a new body, but they're not quite done with the body thing, but you could still be on someone's computer or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I went to a graveyard, and there was this little girl who was like, "Where's mommy?" And then the dad is like, "Oh, she's dead. I'm so sorry, sweetie." And she's like, "But Jason's mom died, and she didn't have to go to heaven." And then the dad's like, "I'm sorry," because like they don't make enough money, right?
Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought that was that hit way harder than death. I was like, "Oh, that's good. I can appreciate that," you know.
Yeah, it's in Star Shutter they have this technology. It's expensive, but they definitely like it depends on the
When
star
you
state you're
yeah, like if you put that in on the table, suddenly making money is even more of a pressure than it is in real life. So now these drugs you're putting in,
like specific connections, etc.
yeah,
Like knowing these special people, yeah. And then I had a party which one of them died, but they were able to scan his brain, and I mean probably I think he got blown up by something, but they kept his brain in stasis, and they scanned it, and they built him a custom body, and they uploaded everything. Like I mean it cost them a lot, but he became a cyborg, and this is one of the things that they can do in Star Trek.
that's pretty cool.
And yeah, I mean they planned it. They planned it with their fellow player, and they asked me, and I said, no problem. You have the technology. If you have the money, do it. And I have a template for the cyborg race. So yeah, they did it. And later, when the party decided to retire, they had enough money, so they purchased a brand new clone of his original body, and used another tech to download his mind from the cyber mind, the computer brain, to his clone. So he was made flesh again.
Interesting. Now, here's another thing I forgot to mention. There's Cyberpunk, like I don't know, it's 2010, and then 2020 is the popular one. Then there's 2030, and the the creator claims that the reason 2030 wasn't successful, or was it 2040? I don't know. The reason it wasn't successful is because the RPG bubble burst, and I was curious what he meant by that, because one of my friends mentioned it to me. That's what his account of the thing was. So I looked up the book, and I immediately understood exactly why it wasn't successful. This is from the third edition. This is the art. So he decided not to go with the artist that did all the art for the first 2 editions. He decided to do it all himself. These are Barbie doll scale.
Well, that ought to do it. Yeah.
Action figures, yeah. I just thought that was so fucking funny. Like the whole book is like this, and it's just like so, you know, it just I don't know.
It's so appealing.
Yeah, that's what the back of these things was. I was just looking for pictures, and I was like, oh, that's a funny story. It's like, yeah, RPG bubble. I think I have an alternative theory.
More like art bubble or Barbie doll bubble.
Yeah. And then also you can see on the sides of the pages he put that like ugly ass sin like.
But did he just run out of money or something? Like, why would this? Why would this
I
be
have
the
no
case?
idea. He got super excited over. He was making a bunch of money from the other edition, so it's not like he was out of money. But he got very into playing with Barbie dolls, and I guess he thought other people were going to be really interested in it too. He made a lot of his clothes, like he made custom clothes with like his own sewing kit and stuff for all the dolls, and he, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole book is full of a bunch of gems like that, and it's like,
it's a nope.
Yeah, it's a big nope, huh?
It's a big nope.
A big question mark.
Yeah, I was.
And then a big nope.
Yeah, I was very amused by it. Yeah, I would say it's also like the sides of the pages. Like this page is so much cleaner to read, right? Like I mean, they have a little bit of decoration on the side, but it's not like that bad. This one he's paying for color.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not overdone. Yeah, this one is too much.
Yeah, you can see like power on and stuff. It's like, but also dealing with like printing books and stuff, color pages are extremely expensive. To spend the money to get color just to put this green filter is like crazy. Just so much more money.
It's too much.
Yeah. And like the artist called him and was like, "Hey, you announced this thing. Should I get started on art?" And he's like, "No, I got it under control." And it's like, all right.
I'm guessing the artist was like, okay, okay, buddy.
Yeah, he bought the book not knowing anything because he didn't tell him anything. He kept it a secret, and he's like, oh, I don't know if I should be upset. They went with a different artist. And he's like, I got to see, what the new artist is. Maybe he's better than me or whatever. And he's like horrified. He's like, what the fuck? What's like?
Imagine like the what the fuck moment. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. The original art was it was pretty decent.
Yeah, I think I've seen like some of the cards. Yeah, and they're cool. Let's see.
This is in the beginning of the book. That's just like a random example. It's pretty decent,
Nice.
I mean, especially when you compare it to like.
Yeah. This is like old cool comic book art.
That's a good way to put it.
Black and white, and it does look it fits it fits perfectly.
There was like when I was looking through my old stuff to remember how the system worked, there was some file called "This is art," and that's what this was. That's what I saved that as. I had another one. I just can't remember.
That's a cool looking cyber hand babe. Looks nice with the signature 80s here too.
Now I got a good one. This is the new version of the cyberpunk babe.
Oh boy. Yeah, I gotta show Neutron Board this this Barbie doll art. He'll
You'll be
he'll
jealous.
have nah. Jealous boy, come on.
You'll be like, oh man, I wish I could draw as a.
He'll be probably his reaction will be exactly the same as the original.
So
art.
this is the new to replace this one. We got. I remember she told me she was born in Miami about 2004 or so. She was pretty was pretty sure. That's man, that's bad grammar. I wouldn't you put a comma after pretty? She was pretty sure, not she was pretty sure. I don't know. Also, how he converted the file, there's these huge goddamn spaces between some of the words and some of the lines. You know? Like if you copy and paste from certain text documents into others or convert different formats, you get that, and I just anyway. She was pretty sure because she could still remember what it had been like when the Euros rocked Washington and the near miss took out Tampa. She had these incredible blue eyes, clear through and through, like crystals of lace, and a smile from a magazine dream. Of course, the eyes were Technic's 2350s, and the smile was really from a magazine nice biosculpt job. It didn't matter how much was real in the end. I still fell hard for her. I'm that type. The late Johnny Silverhand. A direct quote from Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Like Matt said, nope. Yeah, nope.
Man. That to that. It just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, this has been a fantastic chat with you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I'm not that good at ending these things, so abrupt, clicky.